the Dream 100 Show. The epicenter of influence, collaboration, and exponential growth. You're about to discover the power of relationships. Dream 100 relationships. And you're one relationship away from a totally different business and life. This is your host, Michael Tesner.
Alignment. One of the words in the English language that can mean a lot of different things. In today's episode of the Dream 100 Show, I wanted to share some actions based off of a meeting that I attended last week. I was brought in to observe on day one and then to present ideas based on what I found. And what I very rapidly realized within the first 10 minutes of day one, their number one problem, even regardless of what was going to end up occurring for the rest of the day, was around alignment. So I've been working with this founder for the last 6 months, and we've been getting a lot of traction on the marketing side. We've been getting more traffic. We've been getting more sales. This is an e-commerce company. And a lot of things have started to gain momentum. They were stalled for a while. We came in and started to implement some quick wins. Obviously, one of the biggest things that we implemented was the Dream 100 framework. So one of the biggest swings in revenue has came from a powerhouse joint venture deal that has already referred well over 6 figures of business from one relationship in less than 6 months. Before that, all of the orders were coming from having to maximize your, essentially your acquisition costs. So with e-commerce, you're looking at how cheaply can we buy a customer, and then what is that average customer worth to see, are you making money or are you losing money, and you're constantly trying to optimize. So with e-commerce, the Dream 100 framework works like a charm because we find these referral partners, these strategic alliances, potential affiliates that can refer lots of traffic and get rewarded for sending that traffic, or they just do it out of the goodness of their heart because they know there's a bigger play or they can leverage their audience just as a way to help. And while all these positive things have been happening, on my coaching sessions, consulting sessions, we would walk into the calls wanting to talk about KPIs and how is this working and how is the fulfillment now that there's increased demand and all these exciting things, but we would kind of get hit with a stopping block. Like we would start talking and then, well, we have this issue here that has nothing to do with this. And I would start to probe and ask questions, and it started quickly becoming apparent to me that everyone across the organization, and this leadership team in particular, had a different vision or a different plan of what the next couple of months look like, the next year, 3 years, etc. So I asked to come out in person to oversee their 90-day strategy session. They're operating off of a framework that's similar to the Entrepreneurial Operating System, EOS. They kind of take a couple of different, like the best of everything, the best of EOS, the best of another one called Scaling Up, which is by Vern Harnish. They take some from another business called Scalable. Like they kind of cobbled a lot of this stuff together, but they have a really great meeting. But what I realized was the prep aspect of walking into these meetings, and then the beginning of them was being skipped over. Now, what would they be skipping over? There's a very important document that everyone on your team, especially the leadership team, needs to have. The equivalent in the Entrepreneurial Operating System is a document called the Vision Traction Organizer. This document has a lot of different areas in it. For me, arguably the quickest way for you to get alignment, and the suggestions that I made on day 2, in reality, I ended up making the suggestions right after lunch on day 1, was looking at what is the 12-month run rate by way of goals, what are our 3-year goals, and then you can pick either 5 or 10 years. Personally speaking, I prefer 1, 3, and 5. Those are the run rates that I prefer. Anything more than 5, for me, especially being a marketing agency, I mean, I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen past 3 years, let alone 5 years. And this document was missing. So they would start their meetings, they would go around the room and they would share wins and they would do call outs of what's working and they would talk about numbers across each of the departments. They would look at issues that they needed to solve. But the missing alignment aspect was that everyone had, again, a different plan of what the focus was for the upcoming quarter. They were setting specific goals, or in EOS terms, rocks, but they were doing them on the department level only. As an owner of a company, as a founder, your job is to help set the tonality, cast the vision of what does the next 12 months look like. So let's just use some simple numbers and some very simple goals. Let's say you're at $1 million. One of your goals is to get to 1.5 million. That could be goal number 1. Goal number 2 could be to add 5 joint venture strategic partnerships. Goal number 3 could be around you getting out of the day-to-day, for example. So if you set these goals, and they're 12-month goals, you then take that and every single quarter, you break down your quarterly goals, and they should always have some kind of alignment to get you towards those yearly goals. So what they were doing during these meetings was they had like the 3 and 5 year goals, but the quarterly goals had absolutely nothing to do with their bigger goals. Like their bigger goals were revenue driven. And then when I started looking at what they were setting for the quarter, they were enhancements, they were workflows around the financial side of things. They were improving shipping was one of their rocks, like shipping speed, but none of them had anything to do with revenue. Your step 1 to get anyone aligned, yourself included, is to pause and write down your 3 to 4 most important goals, rocks, whatever you would like to call them, for the next 12 months and the next 3 years. That's step 1. As always, with a goal, it needs to be specific, measurable, attainable, SMART goals, essentially. 1 year, 3 years. Once you have that done, now you can work backwards with your team to get alignment. What I realized within my organization was that even though I have all these different documents, there's a document that I've talked about called a painted picture. This is not what I'm referring to. Make sure you listen back to that episode. That painted picture document is more of you describing all the amazing things that have already happened so that you can get it clear in your head and your team's head. And yes, that is part of this exercise, but with the goals and the rocks, this is meant for you to get specific down to 3 to 4 things that you then can hold your team and yourself accountable to hitting for the year, and then take those and boil it down for every single quarter. From there, every single week. Every single week, you need to be looking at the 3 to 4 goals, rocks that you set to make sure that you're aligned. So imagine in your organization if that's not happening. If you have a freelancer, a contractor, if you have marketing team, salespeople, your leadership team, you might have your goals for the year. How often are you getting on a call and looking at them to see, are you pacing, yes or no? If yes, great, continue. If no, who owns that rock and what are they doing to get that on track? What this allows you to do as the leader is to make sure that everyone knows where you're headed, but also to really push back on your team so that you don't continue to take all those monkeys on your back. Your team has to own these. You're there for support. You're there to be the cheerleader. You're there to make sure that things keep moving, to provide strategic direction, but they have to ultimately execute. Imagine how rapidly you can get alignment. Now, there are other elements on this vision traction organizer. You're going to put in your core values. You're going to put in how you deliver value to your customers, your clients. You're going to put in things that make you different, and all that stuff continues to add alignment. But I want you to simplify today and make sure that you personally are crystal clear on the next 12 months at your business. And I don't care if they're not financial goals. There should be a financial goal. I want to make sure that you have big goals that are going to challenge you. Read the book, The Magic Power or The Magic of Thinking Big. Amazing book. Anytime I've set a goal, my goal is typically always too small. I usually 5 or 10x it. You've got to think bigger. The most important aspect of this is then communicating that to the team, making sure that that document, those goals, those rocks are in a place that everyone knows where they are, everyone knows what they are, and then you quarterly break them down so that there's 3 that you can track every single week. That is what gets alignment. So at this meeting, when we broke that down, when I had the founder and CEO of the company rehash what he wants for the next 12 months, everyone was like, well, geez, I didn't know that. Like, he talked about an acquisition and wanting an acquisition by the end of the year. No one on the leadership team had any idea they were considering another acquisition. They just acquired a company. That changed the tonality a little bit for one of the rocks to be identifying 5 more companies. They didn't even have that literally on their minds, on their radar, until the goal was out there. We then set that weekly meeting to review those and communicate. All that I'm looking for you to do to start to move that needle is to put your goals on paper and communicate them to everyone that is going to be on this journey with you. Anyone. I don't care if it's your lowest level team member to the highest level, everyone needs to have this and to be able to see it rapidly. Now, once you have that part done, we can add more to this vision traction document. But I could bet, I wouldn't say any money, but I could definitely bet money that you don't have at least that piece done. Get that piece done, then we'll circle back. We're going to add some other color to beef up this document a little bit more. Combine it with that painted picture, and now you've got extreme alignment. Simplify your life this week, get this exercise done, report back, and we'll keep moving that needle. Michael Tasner signing off. Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. I'll see you next week.